At 18, she sold her virginity. But what this lonely farmer revealed will change everything. The news hit the small Midwestern town like a tornado, rattling windows and hearts. Sarah Thompson, just 18, had auctioned her virginity online, a decision born from desperation on the crumbling family farm. The local diner buzzed with whispers, folks pointing fingers over steaming cups of coffee, unable to wrap their heads around her choice. "They say she's gone wild," one woman gasped, clutching her friend's arm tightly. Isolation had never felt so tangible. Each judgmental gaze felt like a knife twisting in her chest, a constant reminder of the price she paid for freedom. The nights were the hardest. Sarah would sit on her front porch, watching the stars twinkle like distant promises she often felt too ashamed to chase. The weight of anxiety pressed on her like a steel band, tightening with every gossip and scornful whisper that floated through the air. Her family, especially her father, wore pride like a crown, and here she was, the prodigal daughter wearing shame like a shroud. The thought that perhaps her own worth was shrouded in judgment kept her awake. What if she could never reclaim that spark of independence she so desperately sought? Amidst that storm of emotions, Tom, a lonely widowed farmer, stepped into her world. He began stopping by the farm under the pretext of discussing crops and livestock. But what began like a business arrangement blossomed into something deeper. Each conversation under the vast Midwestern sky bared their souls. Tom shared stories of loss, his eyes shimmering like morning dew on grass, mirroring Sarah's anguish in ways they both had struggled to articulate. His scars echoed hers, yet here they were, standing hand in hand, letting sunlight reignite the dreams they thought were lost. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Sarah and Tom grew closer, she began to see hope glimmering amidst the shadows. But that hope was fragile. The townsfolk were relentless in their disdain, remarks sneaking into their conversations like weeds choking a beautiful garden. Yet, when she proposed an event to bring the community together, a harvest gala celebrating resilience and unity, Tom was her loudest supporter. She dreamed of warmth and forgiveness, pinning her hopes on the idea that perhaps they could heal together. Just as the air was thick with excitement, she stumbled upon an old family secret, hidden beneath layers of dust and sorrow. A revelation that could unravel everything, the very foundation of her identity. Would sharing this truth empower her or bury her deeper in judgment and pain? Standing on the brink, Sarah's heart raced, her breath quickened, and with the event just days away, she had to decide, would her truth bring them all together or tear them apart? The wind whispered through the fields, carrying both promise and foreboding, as she prepared to confront her deepest fears. The morning sun broke over the horizon, painting the sky in soft colors of peach and gold. Sarah's heart, however, remained heavy as she stood in her family's kitchen, the aroma of fresh coffee filling the air. She could hear her father's boots clacking against the wooden floor, the familiar sound mixing with the tension that lingered in her chest. The harvest gala was just days away, and with it came the growing anxiety about the secret she had uncovered. "Sarah?" Her father called, breaking her from her thoughts. "You ready to help with the preparations?" "Just a minute," she replied, forcing a smile as she took a deep breath. The weight of her secret felt like a leaden anchor dragging her down. She knew she couldn't carry it alone anymore, but sharing it loomed larger than any storm cloud hanging overhead. As she stepped outside, Tom was already waiting by the barn, his familiar figure silhouetted against the sun. He greeted her with that warm smile that somehow managed to ease her worries, even if just for a moment. "You look pensive," he said, studying her expression. "I found something in the attic yesterday." Sarah shifted her weight. "Something about my family. It's complicated. Want to talk about it?" His voice held a softness that wrapped around her like a favorite blanket. She hesitated, the words bubbling in her throat as if caught in a web of hesitation. Maybe later, she replied, looking away. Tom nodded, respect clear in his eyes, and together they moved to the barn, determined to focus on the work ahead. As they tidied up the space, laughter and shared stories filled the air. For a moment, the weight of her revelation slipped into the background, chased away by Tom's humor and the sense of camaraderie blossoming between them. Yet, each laugh echoed inside her with a reminder of the burden she was keeping hidden. That evening, Sarah and Tom headed back to her house to finalize the gala plans. The living room felt like a sanctuary, filled with sketches and notes. It was a cocoon of hope, and for hours, they pieced together ideas, each stroke of pen on paper refreshing her heart. Maybe we should have a dance, Tom suggested, his eyes sparking with excitement. A dance under the stars, Sarah echoed, a small smile creeping onto her face. She could almost envision the townspeople twirling, laughter floating into the night like delicate fireflies. But, that visual quickly dimmed, as the shadows of judgment crept back in. Tom, she began, her voice faltering, I need to tell you something about my family. It's important. He paused, looking at her with piercing concern. Whatever it is, I'm here. We'll face it together. It was in that moment that the richness of their connection unfolded like a flower in spring. She felt the warmth of his presence, yet the thought of unearthing the truth felt like stepping on shards of glass. As the gala drew closer, Sarah sat alone on the porch, gazing into the darkness. The stars flickered like her fading courage. She could hear faint voices echoing the town's judgment in her mind, each word dulling the shine of her dreams. What would they think of her if they knew? Were they ready to embrace her truth, or was it the very thing that would push them further away? With the festival looming, Sarah faced an undeniable choice, keep hiding or lay bare the truth, knowing it could change everything. As the night deepened, she whispered to the stars, will it bring us together, or pull us apart? In that moment of uncertainty, a shadow broke the silence, a figure walking towards her, the familiar silhouette. Would Tom's next move change everything again? Sarah's breath caught in her throat as Tom stepped closer, his expression unreadable. The porch swing creaked softly with her shifting weight, the tension between them thickening the night air. Hey, Tom said gently, stopping just a few feet away. You okay? His concern was genuine, easy to see etched into the lines of his brow. She wanted to reach out, to confess everything that churned within her, but the words tangled in her heart. Instead, she nodded. Yeah, just thinking. Tom leaned against the porch railing, the fading light casting shadows on his face. Thinking about the gala? Partly, she replied, hesitating. It's just I don't want anything to go wrong. His smile was warm, like the sun breaking through a storm. Nothing will go wrong. We've worked too hard for that. As his words wrapped around her, it felt like a fragile thread pulling her back to safety. Yet, the secret loomed larger. Every debate she had rehearsed in her mind echoed like a drumbeat. Sarah glanced into the dark, as if searching for a sign among the twinkling stars. Tom, she started, her voice small in the vastness of the night. You know how families have their secrets. He raised an eyebrow, curiosity sparking in his eyes. Yeah, I guess we all do. Mine, it's different. Different like bad? He stepped closer, his tone still steady. No, she said quickly, her heart racing. Not bad. Just complicated. He squared his shoulders, waiting as if he knew she would eventually open up. The shadows danced around them, but Sarah felt the warmth of his presence illuminating her path. Taking a breath, she decided to take the plunge. In that moment, her mind raced over the attic's dusty revelations, the faded photos, the whispers of tragedy intertwined with her family's joy. I found something about my mother, she murmured, twisting her fingers. Something I wasn't supposed to. Tom's gaze softened. Whatever it is, you can tell me. I'm scared, Tom. The confession slipped out, raw and honest. What if it changes everything? What if they can't accept it? But what if it sets you free? He countered, his voice strong. You deserve to live without the weight of secrets. She met his eyes, searching for support and finding it there, steady and unwavering. He took another step closer, closing the gap, leaving no space for loneliness. Secrets can fester, he added softly, but the truth can heal. Something inside Sarah began to shift. The hurt she had carried felt a little lighter, just for a moment. What if I fail? Failure isn't the end, Tom replied, his tone resolute. It's how we learn and grow. The words resonated deeply within her. His courage gave her hope, forcing her to face the truth she had shuttered away for too long. Each second echoed with unspoken possibilities. In that charged silence, Sarah felt that maybe, just maybe, she would find the strength to share her family's story. She could feel the warmth of Tom's heart, his strength spilling over to her, daring her to move beyond the shadows. Okay, she whispered, her resolve strengthening. I'll tell you, but it isn't just about me, it's about everything. As she took a deep breath, ready to unravel the threads of her family's truth, the crickets sang a chorus under the night sky. Would revealing her secret lead to healing or only bring heartache? Just then, a figure appeared down the lane, illuminated by the distant porch light. Her father was coming home. Moments like this seemed to stretch, and Sarah felt the new weight pressing down as she wondered, would her father's reaction bring comfort or chaos? As her father approached, the familiar silhouette sent a shiver down Sarah's spine. Would he walk in on her confession? Would the moment dissolve into chaos? She instinctively took a step back from Tom, anxiety twisting like a knot in her stomach. Sarah. Her father called, his voice warm but laced with worry. Everything okay out here? Yeah, Dad. Just talking, she called back, her heart pounding louder than the cicadas. Good. Just checking, he replied, easing closer, his footsteps crunching on the gravel. Tom's eyes held hers, a question lingering in the air. She knew what she had to face now, but with her father nearing, the words felt heavier, like they might crumble under the weight of unspoken truths. Dad, she started, her voice trembling. Hey, Mr. Anderson, Tom interrupted, smoothly stepping into a casual demeanor. Hope you had a good day at work. Sarah couldn't help but admire his composure. Tom was a rock, ever steady, but now she felt the pressure of the moment swelling. Her pulse raced as her father glanced at Tom, that flicker of interest sliding just past worry. Yeah, just some long hours as usual, he replied, tension easing slightly in his shoulders. He looked back at Sarah, his expression softening. Everything all right? Actually, I was helping Sarah with some last-minute gala stuff. Tom jumped in, his tone light and disarming. Her father nodded, oblivious to the current vibes swirling around them. That big charity event? I remember you both talking about it. Must be exciting. Yeah, Sarah managed a smile, but her thoughts spiraled. The gala felt like a distraction from what truly mattered. Just make sure you both stay on task. No slacking during the planning, he joked lightly, but beneath it simmered his protective nature. Sarah shifted, swallowing the lump that threatened to rise in her throat. As moments ticked by, the walls around her truth felt like they were closing in. It wouldn't be long until her father sensed something was amiss. Dad, she said slowly, forcing her breath to stabilize. There's something we need to talk about. Is this about your mother? He asked, concern deepening his voice, eyes narrowing in on her. The air stilled. Sarah's heart raced. How did he know? Was he as aware of the family's secrets as she was? She stalled, searching for the courage to step into the unknown. Kind of, but it's more about what I found. In the attic. Her father's expression turned serious. The attic? Sarah, I told you to leave it alone. That's just it. I can't leave it alone anymore. Tom nodded, silently encouraging her to keep going. I found out things about Mom, things I wasn't prepared for. Again, that familiar crease of worry formed in her father's brow. What do you mean? I need to tell you, I need to share what I found, for everyone's sake, she said, her voice steadier now. Sarah, he took a step closer. You know, we don't speak about the past for a reason. But maybe it's time to change that reason, she pressed, feeling emboldened. Think about what you're saying. This could open wounds, deep ones. What if it can heal them? Tom interjected, surprising both of them. Secrets can destroy us. What matters is the truth. Her father looked between them, grappling with the intensity, realization creeping in. The air was thick with unspoken words, tension swirling around them like fog. Sarah held her breath, every heartbeat beating louder, anxious to know what would unfold next. Could the bond of their family survive the tremors of the truth? And as her father hesitated, his expression shifting from concern to contemplation, Sarah felt the ground shifting beneath her. Would her courage ignite understanding or ignite conflict? Maybe, just maybe, it was time for everything to come to light. But was she ready for whatever that might unleash? Well, what is it? Her father finally asked, breaking the tense silence. His gaze was unwavering, searching her eyes for a glimpse of what lay beneath the surface. I found a letter, Sarah started, her voice trembling. In the attic. It was written by Mom. About her life. About things I never knew. Secrets. Her dad's jaw clenched as he stepped back, not out of anger, but as if guarding himself against some unseen blow. Sarah, this isn't a game. You shouldn't be digging in there. I told you. But it's important. She cried out, urgency swelling within her. I think it might explain everything, like why things changed, why everything feels so broken. The dim porch light cast shadows across their faces. Tom remained quiet, but she could feel his support, a steady presence beside her. Things were hard. We don't need to revisit that pain. Her father's voice trembled with the weight of years gone by. There was a rawness in his eyes, a flicker of vulnerability that shattered the image of the stoic protector she had known all her life. Maybe we have to. Maybe it's time to face it instead of burying it, she insisted, her voice wrapping around hope. You can't keep carrying all that alone, Dad, we're a family. The last word hung in the air, a fragile promise that seemed to crack the wall between them. She stepped closer, her heart racing. Mom wouldn't want us to hide anymore. We could find a way to heal together. For a heartbeat, silence enveloped them. Tom's hand brushed against hers, a grounding force that reminded her she wasn't alone in this. Together, huh? Her father echoed softly, his voice almost a whisper. A deep sigh escaped him, and Sarah felt the first shimmers of vulnerability breaking through his fortress. I'm scared, Sarah. You don't understand what this could unleash. His eyes betrayed him, revealing the turmoil beneath his calm facade. A father should protect his child, but in this moment, her father seemed like the child, braced against the storm. But isn't the truth worth the risk? Sarah pressed, warm tears welling in her eyes. The thought of peeling back the layers of their family history felt both terrifying and essential. What if this could lead us to a place of understanding? Maybe even forgiveness. He turned away, fingers rubbing his temples as if pushing against an oncoming headache. It's not just about us. There are things that could hurt others. Tom stepped forward, finally breaking his silence with sincerity. Mr. Anderson, maybe sometimes we have to break to be rebuilt. You taught Sarah to be brave, let this be an act of courage. Her father turned back, caught between the two people he loved most. It's not that simple. This isn't just about our family, it's about a whole history that we buried. Maybe it's time to dig it up. Sarah's heart thundered, and every second felt like a countdown. Whatever it is, I want to face it with you. We can navigate the unknown together. His gaze dropped to the ground, conflict erupting within him. I need time, he finally said, though the weight of uncertainty hung over them. That's okay. But you're not alone anymore. Just know I'm here. As she spoke, the night air felt heavy, charged with the remnants of an unspoken past. A breeze rustled the leaves above, as if nature itself held its breath for what might come next. "Mom's letter, what if it's just a piece of the puzzle?" Sarah whispered. "What if it leads to the truth we've all been looking for?" In that moment, she recognized something shifting within her father, a crack in his armor. Hope pulsed in her chest, but it was met with a haunting fear of what revelations lay ahead. She glanced at Tom, and his steady gaze reassured her. They were in this together. The path to truth was fraught with pain, but perhaps it would allow them to rise like a phoenix, once scarred but reborn. But as her father stepped back, his expression conflicted. Sarah wondered, was he truly ready to bear the weight of their shared secrets? And what revelations would that letter bring? The night felt thicker now, like the air itself was holding its breath. Sarah watched her father turn away, his gaze lost in the shadows of the yard, where memories lurked behind every tree and every rustle. She stepped closer, determined to bridge the silence that had grown between them. "Let us sit down," she suggested gently, her voice softening. She could see the tension in his shoulders. He was caught in a crossfire of emotions. He hesitated but then nodded, reluctantly moving toward the old swing set, abandoned and creaking softly in the wind. Tom followed them, joining Sarah on one swing while her father took another. They swayed slightly, the rhythm matching the uncertainty in the air. As the creaking echoed in the darkness, anxious knots tightened in Sarah's stomach. "What did you find in that letter?" her dad asked, still fixated on the ground, as if something hidden there held the answers he feared. "I only read part of it," she confessed, her heart racing as she spoke. "But she wrote about feeling trapped, about dreams she never chased. Things she felt she had to give up for us." Her voice flickered, emotions threatening to spill over. It was like she was saying that our happiness came at a cost. His brows furrowed, the flickering porch light catching the tension in his face. "You don't know what you're dealing with, Sarah. This isn't just her story, it's ours too. It carries shadows that could darken everything," he replied, each word steeped in a weariness that seemed to weigh him down like a heavy anchor. "What if digging into its shadows and all can help us heal?" She pressed, her heart in a vice of determination and fear. "We can face this together, Dad. Like you taught me." He remained silent for a long moment and then finally turned to her. There was a weariness in his eyes that she hadn't seen before, one that spoke of heartache and struggles that spanned generations. "Let me show you something," he said abruptly, pushing off the swing and heading toward the house. The lanterns flickered in the dimness, casting a soft glow that made his outline look haunted. "Wait. What are you talking about?" Sarah asked, rising with a jolt. Tom followed close behind, curiosity mixed with concern. As they entered the house, the familiar smell of wood and dust enveloped them, but there was an unsettling layer of tension that felt new. Her father moved quickly, heading to a small chest that had sat against the wall for years, untouched and unnoticed. With a shaky hand, he removed an old, rusted key from his pocket. "This belonged to your mother," he murmured, unlocking the chest with a creaking sound that echoed through the stillness. "I've never opened it." Sarah's heart raced as he cautiously lifted the lid. Inside were old photographs, mementos, and beneath them, another letter, a fatter, more stained envelope, addressed to her. Her breath hitched when she caught a glimpse of her mother's delicate handwriting. "What is this?" she whispered, a fragile sense of hope battling against the weight of her father's fear. "I was waiting for the right moment," he said regretfully. "But I think you're already part of this story more than I realized." As she reached for the letter, a sudden chill rushed through the room. Goosebumps erupted on her arms, and for the first time that night, she felt the presence of something much bigger than them, a connection to her mother's unresolved past. "Are you ready for this, Sarah?" her father asked, his voice tight, yet laced with an inkling of surrender. With a slow, tremulous nod, she replied, "I am. But I know it won't be easy." The moment held, suspended in the air, alive with potential yet fraught with the unknown. All eyes were on the envelope now, the promise of revelations and healing pulsing within its worn edges, and as she opened it, her heart beat erratically in her chest. What would she discover in words that had lain dormant for so long? Would this be the key to unlocking the truth or the first step into a deeper mystery? Sarah's fingers trembled as she slid the letter from its envelope, the paper crinkling under her grip. The familiar scent of ink and aged paper filled her nostrils. She could almost hear her mother's voice weaving through the words long written but never spoken. "Read it out loud," Tom urged quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. He leaned closer, the shadows deepening around him until it felt like they were huddled together against the restless darkness. Taking a deep breath, Sarah unfolded the letter slowly, savoring the way her mother's elegant handwriting danced across the page. "To my dearest Sarah," she began, and it felt like a soft caress, igniting a warmth in the hollow ache of Sarah's heart. "I want to tell you my story, not just the story of our family, but the parts that I kept hidden." Her mother's words spilled forth, revealing dreams of travel and art, ambitions brushed aside for a life that had been chiseled by duty and sacrifice. With each sentence, Sarah felt the walls of her long-held perceptions begin to crack. This wasn't just a letter, it was a lifeline thrown from the past, an invitation to understand the woman who had loved her fiercely yet felt trapped under the weight of everyone's expectations. As she read, her father remained silent, his eyes closed, perhaps lost in memories that echoed the words she spoke. Yet she could feel the tension radiating from him, thickening like a fog around them, clouding the space with unsaid regrets. Eventually, she reached a paragraph that sent a jolt through her. Her mother wrote of a moment of desperation, a time when she felt torn apart. "There are things I wish I had done," the letter confessed, "and sometimes I feel like I sold parts of myself to ensure your happiness. I don't want you to experience that same loneliness. Promise me, my love, that you will pursue what sets your heart ablaze." Her voice faltered, uncertainly hard to push through the weight of those revelations. Her fingers traced the elegant script, absorbing every sentiment hidden between the lines. "What does she mean?" Sarah asked, lifting her gaze to meet her father's. "Did Mom give up her dreams for us?" His expression was a blend of sorrow and relief, as if unveiling this piece of the past had cracked open a door he had long kept shut. "There were choices, Sarah. Sometimes, we think we choose for others when, in truth, we're just afraid of our own shadows." "What shadows?" she pressed, the letter trembling in her hands. "What were you both afraid of?" For a brief moment, Sarah thought he might not answer. The silence wrapped around them, until he finally spoke, voice thick with emotion. "She was afraid of being seen as selfish, and sometimes I was too." A truth hung in the air, heavy and painful, but there was an unexpected lightness within it too. "But we can choose differently. We can stop this cycle from repeating." Before he could respond, Sarah's eyes returned to the letter, scanning the next lines, eager for more. As she read, the fears and hopes of a mother echoed through her, reverberating in her own heart. Then she stumbled upon a passage that sent a chill creeping through her. It spoke of a secret, something buried deep within their family's history. The word struck her like a bolt, leaving her breathless. "If you find this letter, know that love comes with its challenges, and secrets have a way of transforming everything what challenges." Sarah murmured, gripping the letter tightly. A sense of urgency gripped her, demanding answers that felt just out of reach. Her father glanced sharply, as if the unearthing of such knowledge threatened to unleash a flood of pain. "We should put it away for now." "No," she interrupted, voice rising a notch. "We've just started. If there are secrets, don't you think we need to face them together?" She could see the fight in his eyes, battling courage against fear. The letter felt like a wrapping around an unmade present, hiding depths she needed to explore. "Sarah, some truths might hurt," he warned quietly. "I'd rather know the truth than remain in the dark," she insisted. Determination hardening her resolve. As she weighed the next words to uncover, the world around them seemed to still, like the air holding its breath once again. Would they step into the shadows of their family's past? Or would they let fear snuff out the light of what could be found? The question hung between them, heavy yet hopeful, as Sarah prepared to push deeper than ever before. What could this secret reveal about their family? And would unraveling it unlock healing or expose wounds they were not ready to confront? The tension in the room crackled like static-charged air as Sarah's heart raced. She could see her father's hesitation, a wall built from years of unspoken words and buried secrets, and she felt that wall pushing back against her resolve. "Dad, please," Sarah pleaded, her voice barely above a whisper but filled with urgency. "We owe it to Mom to understand. It's not just about us anymore, it's about her too." Tom shifted beside her, clearly uncomfortable but supportive, his eyes flickering back and forth between Sarah and the letter. Every second stretched before them as if time itself were reluctant to take the next step. Finally, Tom broke the silence. "Your mother's words, they need careful consideration, Sarah. Maybe we shouldn't rush into this." "No." Her determination bubbled over. "What if we let fear hold us back again? What if the truth is precisely what can heal our family?" Her father's gaze dropped to the floor, and for a moment, he seemed to shrink under the weight of this moment. His fingers pinched the edges of the chair, knuckles turning white. Sarah could feel the air grow thick with memories, old scars itching beneath fresh wounds. Taking a shaky breath, he lifted his head. "Fine, let us take a look. But understand, some truths are harder than they seem." Sarah felt a flicker of victory, a flame ignited by hope. Slowly, she turned back to the letter, her heart pacing with anticipation. "Okay, let us find out what she meant." She resumed reading, her voice clearer this time, as if the words themselves had the power to gradually tether them together. The details flowed, narrating a story interwoven with courage and fear, choices made that shaped their lives. Each word painted a picture of a woman who had dreams yet felt the crushing weight of responsibility. As she read about her mother's aspirations, painting in Paris, dancing in New York, traveling to faraway places, an ache filled Sarah's heart. A vision of her mother, vibrant and alive, became etched in her mind. Then the letter changed tone, becoming almost confessional, heavy with regret. "And then there was a choice I made during a fragile time," it read. "A choice I thought would protect you, my love, yet it only built more walls." What does she mean? What choice? Sarah's mind raced, searching for pieces to this puzzle as she instinctively glanced at her father, whose expression had darkened. Tom's face was a landscape of emotions: confusion, concern, and the heavy weight of past mistakes. That could refer to a lot, Sarah. Choices like moving us here, or what? She pressed, yearning to wrench the truth from the shadows. What else could it mean? He sighed, reluctant. Sometimes adults think they're making the best decisions, not realizing they're creating a chain reaction. Like a secret? Tom's words hung thick in the air. "Yes, a secret," he admitted, and a somber heaviness seeped into his voice. "One that might harm more than protect." Fingers trembling, Sarah scanned the remaining lines, desperate to push through the walls he had built around himself. Her eyes landed on the next passage, and as she read it, the world around her blurred, a single line punctuating reality. "And if you learn the truth, my darling, remember that love can be both a balm and a burden." A chill grazed Sarah's spine. The implications began to settle in, weighing heavier than before. What hidden truth could change their lives forever? "Dad," she said slowly, her voice breaking, "what if whatever was hidden affects us now?" Tom looked stricken, as if he had just been reminded of its implications. The silence returned, thickening around them like fog. The shadows of their past hadn't just kept secrets, they had built an invisible prison around their hearts. What if the truth hurts more than we think? What if his voice trailed off, and Sarah's pulse quickened? Now more than ever, they stood on a precipice, choice hanging before them like a fragile balance. Would they dare take that leap? The words echoed in Sarah's head, tumbling like leaves before a storm. She held the letter close, knowing it was more than a glimpse into the past. Was it worth the risk? As anxiety twisted in her stomach, she forced the words out, "Let us keep going. We need to face this." Together, they stood rooted in their resolve, bound by accusation and absolution, facing the rest of their family's story together. But just as she prepared to turn another page, a loud knock sounded at the door, startling them. What now? She thought. The interruption felt ominous, as if something was about to unravel in ways they weren't prepared for. And as Sarah's heart raced, she couldn't shake the feeling that whatever stood on the other side could change everything yet again. What awaited them? Would it be an ally, or a truth even darker? The knock reverberated through the room, halting Sarah's breath. Her fingers lingered on the page, the ink blurring in her quickening thoughts. Instead of resolution, uncertainty wrapped around them like fog, dense and suffocating. Tom glanced sharply at her, a mix of dread and curiosity on his face, and for a moment, they both seemed frozen in time, suspended in the storm of their emotions. Another knock, more insistent this time, broke their reverie. "Should we answer it?" Tom asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Sarah could see the hesitation in his eyes, the reluctance to leave the fragile moment they were in, a moment on the brink of discovery. Before she could respond, determination flared in her chest. They couldn't hide from whatever was pounding at their door, just as they couldn't hide from the truths lingering in their hearts. "We have to," she replied, her voice steady but edged with anxiety. With one last glance at the letter, she pushed herself up and moved toward the door. Her heart raced in anticipation, each beat a reminder of the secrets they were grappling with. As Sarah opened the door, the sunlight spilled into the room, casting a warm glow over everything, but it also illuminated the figure standing before them, sending a chill down her spine. A woman strikingly familiar yet distinctly different stood on the threshold. Her hair was dark and wild, a crown of untamed curls framing a face marked by the passage of time. There was something striking about her, a radiance that felt both welcoming and disarming. "Hello, Sarah," the woman said softly, her voice smooth yet laced with uncertainty. Sarah's heart sank. The sense of familiarity hit her like a wave. She was a replica of her mother, yet there was an unmistakable distance in her eyes. "Who are you?" Sarah managed to stammer, stepping back instinctively. Beside her, Tom took a protective stance, uncertainty etched on his features. "I'm Maria," the woman confessed, her gaze darting between Sarah and Tom. "I'm here about the letter." The revelation hung in the air, heavy and charged. Sarah's mind raced, she felt the world slip wildly beneath her. She thought she was stepping closer to the truth, but now a new layer of confusion had been added to the mix. "You knew my mother?" she asked, her voice barely holding steady. Maria nodded slowly, the corners of her mouth tugging into something that felt like regret. "I did. I was part of her life in a way you may not understand. And I believe it's time we talked. There are things you need to know." Sarah's heart thundered in her chest. The secrets her mother had hinted at were now standing at their door. She exchanged a look with Tom, who seemed just as overwhelmed. There was a hunger for truth battling with an instinct to retreat back into the comforting veil of ignorance. "What do you want to tell us?" Sarah felt herself asking, the question more urgent than she intended. She took a step forward, drawn like a moth to flame. Maria seemed to radiate a deep sadness, and for some reason, it pulled at Sarah's heart, urging her to dig deeper. Maria hesitated, glancing past them into the room as if contemplating the weight of the unveiling that lay before her. "Everything," she finally said, the word resonating with a depth that made Sarah's stomach twist. Just as the anticipation reached its peak, the sounds of the rural world seeped in: a distant crow, the rustling trees outside, an unexpected flutter of hope. But it was colliding with the anxiety gripping her heart. "Please, come in," Sarah offered, her voice trembling. She felt the moment shift, like the scales tipping. They were already entwined in something larger than just themselves, something echoing through time and choices. As Maria stepped into the room, the air thickened with their shared histories. Sarah felt the urge to run, drown in self-preservation, but something deeper held her firmly in place. What if this was the moment they had been waiting for? What if answers awaited them here, ushered in by a stranger? The real question echoed louder now: would they? Dare to unearth the buried truths now standing before them? As they all settled into the room, uneasy yet curious, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. The atmosphere felt electric as Maria entered, a spark igniting the air around them. Sarah could see the weight of her presence, a blend of grief and forgiveness that seemed to settle in the room. Maria, Sarah breathed, still grappling with the shock of familiarity. She could feel the unsteady heartbeat of anticipation pounding beneath her skin. You said you were part of my mother's life? How? Maria's eyes searched the room, lingering on Tom, who still stood protectively beside Sarah. Your mother had a secret, she said softly, her voice layered with sadness. She was my sister. The admission hung over them like dark clouds threatening to unleash a storm. Sarah felt a rush of emotions, a tempest of confusion, empathy, and the surge of questions fighting for air in her lungs. You're telling me my mother had a sister I never knew about? Maria nodded, her expressions revealing decades of silence and regret. Yes. She made choices when you were young, decisions meant to protect the family, to shield you from heartache. But those choices came with a heavy cost. Like the letter? Tom interjected, curiosity edging his tone. The moment he spoke, Sarah felt tethered. They were all in this together, navigating the unknown together. Yes, the letter. It contained a promise, a wish for you to live freely without the shadows. Sarah felt the ground shift beneath her, her heart echoing the weight of the moment. What do you mean, shadows? What did she hide? Maria sighed deeply, the weight of unspoken truths almost suffocating. Your mother and I had a tumultuous childhood, marred by family secrets, abandonment, and the burden of expectations. She ran away to escape it, to create a life you know, but it took a toll on her. Every word felt like shards of glass cutting through the fragile shell of their previous understanding. Sarah's heart raced. And you were left behind? Yes, Maria said, pain evident in her eyes. I was always the other one, the forgotten child. But Mom's distance hurt her too, and it's a wound that never healed. I never stopped loving her, not for a moment. What happened to you? Sarah's voice felt small, trembling on the surface of vulnerability. I fought to rise above it, to break the cycle, Maria admitted. But the distance left wounds on both sides. I wanted to reach out, to tell her I understood, but life got away from us. The room seemed to shrink as Sarah processed this new reality, her heart aching for her mother, for Maria, for the lives intertwined yet separated by choices made in fear. Could sharing the truth have saved you both? She didn't mean to sound accusatory, but the weight of the question hung heavily in the air. It might have, Maria said gently, the sincerity in her voice wrapping around Sarah like a warm embrace. But sometimes, we think holding on to silence is protecting the ones we love. Sarah's fingers trembled as she clutched the letter tightly, the old ink felt alive with what it held. Could this shared heartbreak be the pathway forward? Maria, she took a breath, her resolve settling in like an anchor. What now? What do we do with all this? With everything we've learned? It starts with you, Maria responded softly. You need to be the bridge, not just for your mother's legacy but for healing. It needs to be faced together. Together, Tom echoed, the word resonating as if he was voicing a truth that had always been sitting just beneath the surface of their veins. With her father's presence lingering heavy in their deliberations, Sarah glanced back at him. Dad, we need to face this as a family. The shadows can't weigh us down any longer. It may open wounds, he said, his voice wavering, but maybe it's time to heal. Tears filled Maria's eyes, brimming with relief. I want to help you through this too. It's time for us to hold each other's truths. Your mother would have wanted this. The weight of that statement pressed into Sarah's heart, igniting a flame of hope. As they gathered around the faded letter, each sharing their fears, their voices blended, weaving a tapestry of stories that encapsulated pain with resilience. Sarah felt the fears that once stifled her begin to break apart, scattering like dandelion seeds in the wind, touching every aspect of who they were meant to be. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, deep-seated scars would bubble up to the surface, but Sarah felt the warmth of their interconnectedness, two sisters, a father, and the hidden mothers woven into their very essence. And they were ready to confront this legacy together. As dusk fell, the stars began to twinkle in the Midwestern sky, a reflection of their newfound clarity. Those distant promises now felt attainable, a healing light igniting the shadows that lingered too long. This was it. This was their chance to break the chains of judgment, shame, and secrets that had bound them. Together, as a family filled with love and pain, courage and vulnerability, they would embrace the truth, forging a path toward accepting who they were, as individuals, and as a family. And in that moment, under the wide, open sky, Sarah whispered, "Let us step into our truth together." The journey was only beginning, but for the first time, it felt like a journey worth taking. Now, dear friends, if you felt even a spark of inspiration from this story, here's what you need to do: subscribe immediately to our channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that will touch your heart. Leave a like now if this journey resonates with you and helps feed the algorithm. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. Your responses matter. And don't forget to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support for our community. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Your actions truly make a difference.